Tonight, number 2 on our list of favorites from the Tex-Files, Texas mysteries worthy of X-Files plots.
It is one of the classic UFO cases of all times. The Lubbock Lights. Some may recall a more recent incident about a decade ago that involved religious fervor. But the original Lubbock Lights story goes back more than 50 years to the summer of 1951. August 1988, thousands of Christians gather on a hillside near Lubbock, drawn by visions by those who claim to see the Savior Jesus in the fractured light formed by sun and clouds. The pilgrimage was fueled by religious fervor and soon ended. But it was not the first time that the skies over Lubbock produced a sensation around the world. For a few weeks in 1951, people here witnessed a phenomenon of a different sort, a series of UFO sightings that 5 decades later still defies explanation. Beginning August 25, 1951, and for several nights that followed, a strange line of bluish lights were seen flying swiftly over Lubbock, Texas. This is an absolutely classic case for a number of different reasons, including the first group of people who saw the Lubbock Lights, 4 college professors from Texas Tech University. They attempted to make a study of what they'd seen, a scientific study. They weren't wholly successful, but in the end, they concluded that the Lubbock Lights were under intelligent control.
You know, we're not talking about the flying saucer lunatic fringe here or something. We're talking about professional people who were apparently impressed enough by having seen strange things in the sky to go out and try to observe them under scientific conditions.
Donald Burleson is a present-day college professor from Roswell, New Mexico, who says comparisons can be made to a more recent incident. March of 1997, when hundreds of people witnessed and videotaped a flotilla of flying objects over Phoenix, Arizona. Back in 1951, no one in Lubbock had a home video camera. But an 18-year-old college freshman named Carl Hart Jr. was a budding still photographer who was just about to go to bed when he saw the Lubbock Lights.
So I just grabbed my camera and set the exposure on where I wanted it and ran back outside and waited, and then, you know, 2 more flights came over. I think I got 2 pictures of one and 3 of the other. When I first processed them, I didn't think I had a thing until I really examined them closely, because they didn't take up a lot of room on that negative.
Hart took the photos to his Boy Scout leader, who contacted a reporter for the local newspaper, which eventually published them, but only after Hart endured the first in a series of grillings.
First, talked to the people at the Avalanche Journal. They were pretty skeptical. And then after they published, well, first it was the Air Force.
Local Air Force investigators turned Hart over to higher-ups from out of town, and eventually 2 FBI agents.
Pretty intense questioning. Yeah, they went over and over, you know, my story. And I guess trying to catch me and being inconsistent, but apparently they were satisfied eventually.
Life magazine published a lengthy article in the spring of 1952, and over the years, a number of independent studies were conducted. After nearly 5 decades of intense scrutiny, there is no reason to believe that Carl Hart faked anything. His photos are still among the most remarkable and vexing in UFO history. The government's official report was released in late 1951. Its conclusion: what Carl Hart captured on film were highly reflective duck bellies.
Very clearly, this imaging shows that these are not birds.
Dr. Burleson, with advanced degrees in mathematics and literature, is conducting what could be the most intensive computer analysis of Hart's photographs to date.
This is, in my estimation, the most spectacular of the photos. It shows a regular flotilla of 18 large disc-like objects in the sky. I'm inclined to think that these objects may well each have been in excess of 200 feet in diameter.
Burleson says the objects Hart photographed display what appears to be structure on the underside that may link them to whatever crashed in nearby Roswell, New Mexico 4 years earlier.
It gives a clear indication of a kind of cell-type or beehive-type structure underneath, which is very interesting because it matches nicely with witness descriptions of the Roswell object. I think he simply photographed something anomalous in the sky and was treated frankly, pretty shabbily for his trouble.
Carl Hartes never sought fame or fortune from the photos he took, just the opposite.
Got to the point where I just soon pass on it. If something comes up, well, I would just as soon ignore it. I guess there's a group of people that still feel like anybody that sees a UFO is some kind of a nutcase, and I get put in that category part of the time, and part of the people I guess think anything like that has to be faked, and so I get a little bit of that.
Even the government's analysis, some of it declassified years later, concluded there was no evidence of a hoax, that the negatives had not been retouched, that the lights were brighter than stars, and the objects changed position in the formation. So what was it that Carl Hart and dozens of others witnessed in the skies over Lubbock so many years ago? Carl is as baffled as the rest of us.
That's something that's unsolved. You know, I would love to know what they were. But after this period of time, I don't think I ever will.
Next week, one more Tex-File, a murder mystery that spawned a dozen B movies.
It was after the second double murders they started using the name Phantom in the local newspaper. No one felt like he or she was safe.
The Phantom Killer of Texarkana. He stalked young couples on Lover's Lane, sparked fear and panic, and was never caught. That's next week, Sunday night, Fox 4 News at 9.